There. You can get yourself comfortable, relaxed, and with your eyes closed, you can set the intention and motivation that for the next hour, we'll be fully open and receptive to what's happening now, kind of increasing our sensitivity to, in the beginning, the five senses, and dialing down that reactive part of the mind, which comes from the sense of self. So we're deliberately firing our ego. It's not needed. The interpreter, the controller, the figuring outer, that sense of self, that me, that I'm in charge feeling, it's fired. We'll just put it into the quiet corner. It's not needed. It can have a break. We'll give it a newspaper to read or meditate. There you go. That's what meditation is. Just quietening the ego. But this process of quietening the ego is very interesting. It's an inner journey. So it's more interesting than going into outer space. It's going into inner space. It's a gradual process, though. In the beginning, it's useful to anchor ourselves in the present, to stay alert, awake, by noticing what's happening now. You can notice the sounds, maybe the birds. It's quite pleasant because the birds are chirping. We're allowing ourselves to know without reacting. If we go to something too subtle too quickly, that's when we can drift off either to sluggishness or mind wandering. We'll do it more gradually this time, and then at the end you can let me know how that goes for you. But sometimes when we're tired, the body falls asleep, which is normal. Could be, we haven't slept enough and we're just overtired. But by making it more gradual and giving the mind something more tangible to focus on at the beginning, maybe that might help the process of the mind quietening down. We can start by being aware of the birds, maybe even the subtle wind on our face. There's a little breeze. There's the dog barking. And make sure you have your awareness of these senses without the reacting, without commenting, without the storyline. You could notice perhaps even how your mind responds to the beautiful birds and how the mind responds to the dog barking. By being aware even of the response, you're not feeding it. You're just aware of the mind moving without adding more mental agitation to it. So for instance, you notice your mind liking the birds but not liking the dog. The dog stopped now. And keeping it at that. In the scene, let there just be the scene. In the herd, let there just be the herd. Don't add any stories to it, because that just keeps it going. You may notice there's another dog. Maybe the gentle breeze on your face or on your hands. And how this sense is completely different to sound, this touch sensation. You can be aware of the general state of your body. Maybe you might be hungry or not. You're sluggish. Are you tired? Does the body feel heavy or light? Your posture. You want to park your car, the body, in a comfortable, good enough position. Just be aware of the general state of your body. And you can be aware of the general condition of your mind. Is it tight? Is it sluggish? Is it relaxed? Is it energetic? Feeling that texture of the mind. And the more times we visit our mind and we're aware of it, the more often we can catch ourselves also if we're in a state we don't want to be like in, such as fear or anxiety. But also, we can water the garden, water the flowers of the garden. So cultivate the wholesome states. And if we see any states that are not helpful for our path towards inner peace and freedom, we don't have to feed them. So if we notice any restlessness, any thinking about the past or future or agitation, we leave that alone. It's the dog's barking. We notice it, but we're not interested to get rid of it, and we're not interested to keep it going. And with sounds, if we're not interested in them, soon they fade from our awareness. We're allowing the dust to settle, just being in the moment, receptive to the now, patiently, just hanging out, being still. Now noticing a perception of absence. So you could notice things, we were aware of things such as sounds, sensations like the breeze, thoughts, and the dog. Now notice the perception when the mind is free from that. It's very subtle. We'll revisit this perception. This is also a meditation practice that I've been exploring the last few weeks and thought to share with you. We'll touch on it also at the end of our sit, when the mind will be more clear and more aware of subtleties. We can start this by the absence. So we're free from going to work right now. Isn't that a relief? The weariness of doing things. We're free from needing to figure things out, plan our next trip. Notice the relief of that. We're free from having to cook. Oh, what a relief. We're free from the busyness of being in the middle of the city. We're here in a beautiful park where there's a spaciousness. No one's here to bother us. We're free from all that. Oh, what a relief. Fine-tune your perception to appreciate and enjoy the freedom from things. It's a stillness and receptiveness. We'll continue through the body scan and revisit this perception later. So now scanning through the body just to allow the mind to become more still and allow the mindfulness to grow. Also, being aware of something that's happening now will help you keep the alertness and awareness. And just carry on, because the mind changes through this process. It becomes more enjoyable when it's more peaceful. Notice, we'll scan the attention through our body, starting with our toes. Notice the sensations of your toes against the socks or the wind or the shoes. How do your toes feel? Maybe if you've been walking and you have a bunion, that might be sore, or if your shoes aren't comfortable. Whatever state your feet are in and your toes are in, just notice that. And we delight that all we need to be aware of, our only task at this moment is being aware of the toes. Oh, what a relief. There's no washing dishes. There's no folding laundries or cleaning up. It's just awareness of the toes. And whatever other sounds there are, let them be. That's just part of life. Noticing the toes and going up the arch. Having some kindness to the arch. Noticing how your mind is responding to the sirens. Remember, in the herd, let there just be the herd. There's just sirens. The processes sound, the air molecules move. The cilia, is it the cilia in your ear canals? I forget. It's been too long since I learned the words of it. But those little hair moves and it transmits an electrical signal, and then eventually it gets processed by the brain and we perceive it as sound. But let it stop at just the sound. Drop any storytelling about it. And being aware of the heels. And of course, the other alarm grabs our attention because that's what it's designed to do. Alarms were made to get people's attention. That's what happens when you have a mind. When the alarm goes, we hear it. And notice your mind. Let there just be the sound without adding stories and further thinking about it. And then when the sound goes, it goes. There's no ripples of thought surrounding it. It's just gone. Gone. You can go back to the heels, being aware of our heels in contact with the shoe and our ankles. And going up the calves. Being aware of our knees. Noticing any sensations in the knees and the thighs. Maybe the thighs in contact with the chair. appreciating the simplicity, like having a clean room, the simplicity of less mental stuff. It's like, oh, what a relief, that contentment. And you don't want to add thinking to this moment because it's beautiful when there's stillness. Just have awareness of the hips and awareness of the tummy area. It's really developing perceptions, noticing the beauty and simplicity. Because activity is endless. And notice that activity is more tight, it's yucky. And when you release the interest and all the mental blah, 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 there's more ease. Taste that feeling of freedom and ease in between the thoughts, the space between the thoughts. The ease when we turn down the volume of that internal commentary. Finally you have some spaciousness, some ease. Being aware of your tummy, softening your heart and adding some kindness to the tummy. Being aware of your shoulders. You don't have to force yourself to enjoy. It's pointing out. All these words are pointing out for you to notice that the space of your own mind is worthwhile. It's not worth cluttering up your mind with thoughts of past and future. The mind in itself is beautiful. It's like you have a beautiful home, let's say. Or if, let's say, you're in front of the beach, right? Watching the beautiful, is it a vista or the view? That spaciousness. And imagine there's someone scrolling on their Facebook. All we're doing during this guided meditation is saying, hey, why don't you put that phone down and look? And then that feeling of beauty when you see the nature or the beach in front of you, this empty, beautiful beach, is something that you notice, and the reality, that relief and freedom and that ease you feel is a reality within you. It's not something that someone gives you or kind of stimulates with you with some sort of video. It's there all along. We're just allowing ourselves to put down the burden of activity, to put down the burden of the phone, and allow ourselves to notice that the mind in itself is beautiful. Resting in the space of the mind is beautiful, but we haven't noticed that our whole life because we've been conditioned to add activity and to do and produce, and our mind has never perhaps or has sometimes slowed down enough to notice. And there is more profundity, depth, and beauty to be found with more patience and being still with our mind. There's more depth. And here we're giving ourselves the encouragement to sit together, to stop scrolling in that feed of our mind with that support, encouragement, and possibility that there is more beauty, depth, and truth to be found. And all we need to do when we sit down to meditate is we don't create the beauty. We just have to stop ourselves from picking up the phone. That's it. The effort, so to speak, is more of, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to pick up my phone. That's it. I'm not going to scroll through the past, future, thoughts, worries. And to do that is not through will, but to giving ourselves permission to wait, to be patient for the beauty of that view of the mind to be experienced. And then it's like a feedback loop. Once you feel that contentment, stay with it. There's more. This is just the start. Now the meditation starts biting. Now, once you start enjoying being in the present, that's the start. And then there is a whole other dimensions to be uncovered within the mind. A friend sent me an article that Harvard Medical School, there's this research program into deep meditation. They're measuring people's brains while they're accessing these deep meditations. I'll send you that article. It's not about the results, but just that there is more beyond mindfulness. This is just the start. And hopefully that encourages the attention to stay present and the mindfulness to stop you from going back into past and future. There's some hidden treasures within. But if we don't believe there's hidden treasures, then we won't stay long enough in the moment. That's why most people don't wait. But here we have that encouragement, support, and openness. There's more to it. So we stay and enjoy the stillness. We were at our tummy. So we'll go through the spine, up the spine. And the trick to keep us present is noticing the relief and the beauty when the mind stills by itself. Going up the spine and all our organs. Let's soften our heart to all our internal organs. We're doing so much work for us. Our heart, lungs, kidney. Softening our heart with kindness. Being aware of our shoulders. Notice how it feels when you allow your shoulders to relax. Usually There's a lot of tension in our shoulders oftentimes. So how does it feel when you allow your shoulders to relax? Going through the arms and the elbows. Remember, don't pick up the thoughts of the past and the future. Give yourself the opportunity to stop long enough and settle into this moment long enough to allow this moment to show its beauty, its peace. It's there, but normally we're too busy worrying or thinking about other things. So it's there all along, being aware of your wrists. How are your wrists? How does that feel? Remember, we're receiving information, being passive observer without the reactive part. So just being aware of your wrists, your thumb, going through each finger. Going up the neck and the jaw. Notice how your jaw is feeling. Release any tension in your jaw. Going up the face, around the eyes. Noticing any tension around the forehead. Being aware of your head, allowing all the activities to subside. Notice the condition. Feel the texture of the mind. Notice that aspect of stillness, that the mind is still. These are all pointers. These are words that are pointing to an experience within you. Someone can say an apple is sweet, or it has that tangy or soft feel, but it's only once you taste the apple that you know how it is. So these words all pointing, but they're meaningless, they're worthless, unless they prime the mind, guide you like signposts to states that you notice within yourself. So you're allowing these signposts saying, look, notice, feel. Notice the stillness in your mind, the contentment. Doesn't that feel good? Isn't that much better? Like it's, what a relief. Oh, how beautiful. Like when we put the activity of the phone down and we notice the beautiful, vast, still ocean in front of us, like in the morning or in the evening when there's no one around, and there's just that spaciousness and beauty. That inner spaciousness, notice it. And allow it to settle the mind further, and to stay with that. And if you interrupt it, then that's causing a weariness, a disturbance, like a yuckiness. Let all that yuckiness fade. That's also a perception of emptiness, of less things. You're noticing that less stuff in your mind, thoughts, feelings, like memories, feels more clear and spacious. This is for the period of meditation. And then later, if there's something to do, you do it, like booking a flight or planning something, and it'll be clear, less likely to make mistakes. But now we develop the quality of our mind. Stay present with the stillness, and allows the stillness to deepen all by itself, not wanting to rush it or lag it behind, being content with however the mind is. Now there's a little hack, and that hack is kindness. Let's explore and notice how adding this intention or attitude or a condition of mind of kindness, how that changes the quality and taste of the mind. And why would kindness work? A few reasons come. When you're kind to this moment, to this mind, you can only do so when there's no selfing or negativity. Negativity always takes you away from this moment and gives you a job, something to fix. But when you're kind, there's stillness. Also correlates with safety. You could only really be kind when there's this element of safety, good enough. You're not threatened, you're feeling safe. And there's that selflessness, like generosity and how a mother loves and protects her child. There is a selflessness, and that selflessness adds to stillness, because if we reinforce the sense of self, then that adds also more doing, more activity. The activity feeds the ego, and then a manifestation of the ego is more mental activity. They feed off each other. So the selflessness is like pulling the rug under the self. The kindness is pulling a rug under the self. It's being in a different state. And it's something that we can tap into, because as humans, we have this when perhaps you have a dog that you care for, or you're a close relative, or a child, or someone dear to you. There's an attachment there, but there's also this genuine well-wishing for the other person to be well and happy, to be free from suffering, to be safe. And we're tapping in to that condition, that state, that intention, that softness of heart. So let's just spend some time feeling what that points to. Again, these are all just words, but let's linger and explore. How does this friendliness feel like? I'm just using a word, but let's not get hung up on words. This metta, this loving kindness, this friendliness, the softness of the heart. How does that feel for you? Just feel it without words, getting acquainted with it. Notice the softness of it. It tends to soften also any negativity of mind. It's a healing. Someone gave an example that you have tea and then you have medicinal tea. And this practice is like a medicinal tea, because it also, with this foundation of selflessness, it not only softens these unwholesome traits, these traits that get in the way of freedom and peace. Not only softens those, but also, because we've introduced this concept that there's no permanent, this aspect of you can allow it to vanish, and there's freedom in doing so. You can pick it up again later when you need to go to work and do your things. But at this moment, you're safe, and you could allow the self to vanish. Just put it in the back corner and remind it to be shh. Let's explore now this heart-based friendliness, making sure it's okay, you're safe to do so. You're sitting here in this moment, you're safe. You could allow your guards to go down. You could put down your guards, put down all the blocks that you've been holding up, all these facades and faces that you've been putting up for others. You can allow all that to melt. Even the facade we've put to ourselves, you can allow that to melt and accept ourselves just the way we are. We're not perfect. Perfection is, perhaps that even is a delusion. We are just the way we are. This moment is the way it is. And give up wanting to make it different. Rather embrace. We're adding this softness, embracing yourself just the way you are. You're okay just the way you are. With all the cancers and sicknesses and wrinkles and whatever. It's okay. With all the kindness, the good qualities, even the wholesomeness of coming here and giving yourself the opportunity to develop your heart and mind in kindness and peace. Rejoicing even in that. How wonderful it is to give yourself the gift. And by giving yourself the gift, it also affects the others. Once we put our oxygen mask on first, it helps the others who have to put up with us. Rejoicing. That's another heart-based practice. This rejoicing in the goodness of others, what we're doing. And wishing, having this genuine intention for all beings to also find that freedom, including ourselves. This wholesome state of rejoicing, having joy that there is not only this possibility, we're tasting it, others do, and for us to fully have this inner peace and freedom, and for others too. But ultimately this world doesn't go the way we want. So we also have this equanimity that comes from wisdom, knowing the nature of the world, the nature of the mind. So kind of fusing all these 4 heart-based practices, and with that stable equanimity, we can then explore the spaciousness of this moment in awareness, this infinite consciousness without any thoughts and emotions, this delightful spaciousness that's free from the wariness of memories and thinking. Delight in that. That's profound stillness. Maybe be aware of that awareness. This is very subtle. Maybe not for long, because maybe it's too subtle to stay with. But without force, but just knowing. Just that quality, that aspect of knowing. That knowing that knows that spaciousness in your mind. and rest in that. Only coming close to the end, let's turn our attention now to the breathing. We're doing a little bit of a medley, a little buffet table of different meditation methods. For you to taste that there's different ways to experience this moment and different aspects of this moment that you could be aware of. But all that is done through stillness. Now, notice through all this stillness, are you breathing? Now you have always been breathing, otherwise you've been dead. Can we notice the breathing, mindful along with the breathing? You're just knowing you're breathing in and knowing you're breathing out. However it is that you're knowing is okay. You're just knowing the breathing. The soft, subtle. Making sure your face and eyes are relaxed. Because you don't have to do the breathing, it's happening. You're just noticing it. And stay with that awareness of knowing the breathing. And never try to shape or change your perception. You're a recipient of that awareness. And the awareness will change. It's normal. It'll become more subtle. And then through stillness, being a passive observer, you may not even notice the in-breath or out-breath. And your perception of the breath will change, will become more beautiful. You may then at this point, some people have lights or no lights, but whatever it is, your perception changes and there's no way that it happens for everyone. But throughout the whole process, we're being passive, not interrupting, not wanting this moment to be different, not wanting peace, we're just noticing how this moment is manifesting, is being experienced. And allowing more simplicity leads the mind to more stillness, peace. So coming at the end, notice how your mind and body are compared to how when you first came. Perhaps the aspects of ease, like just feeling good, like clarity, stillness, and just contentment. Giving your mind the opportunity to appreciate. Remember, don't do the appreciation. Don't make it happen. You're sitting back passively and allowing the mind to notice. This is nice. Without the internal commentary.